All right, bright and sunny Saturday morning. I'm joined by Pulasta Dhar and Pradhyum Reddy. Pradhyum and Pula, who've both been embedded in the Indian football ecosystem for a number of years. Prad in a number of capacities as head coach, as a technical consultant, as pundit, expert, commentator. Pula, all of the above on the turfs in Goa as well as commentator. Yeah, Pula, am I right?
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Good intro. Very nice. You've not lost the touch of presenting, so well done.
Today. Pula, I'm going to start off with you. Of course, we're previewing the final between Mohun Bagan Supergiant and East Bengal in the Durand Cup. The Durand Cup, for many intents and purposes, has been pitched as the tournament to sort of raise the curtain of the Indian football season. Whether it's done that or not, in what capacity that's happened is another matter. But do you think the two best sides are in the final in East Bengal and Mohun Bagan?
Yeah, you'd have to say so.
Hmm.
Secretly, was obviously hoping that one of the clubs, probably someone like an SC Delhi, would make it. Just for the novelty factor of it. Maybe Northeast United could have had a chance to win a third in a row. But if you're fair to both East Bengal and Mohun Bagan, then it seems like the two strongest teams of the tournament have actually made it to the final. So, and it's a Kolkata derby. No one's ever going to say no to a Kolkata derby in the final of any tournament. So it
And
works out perfect.
especially if you're an organizer in Indian football, you're never missing the opportunity to make the groups in a way where there is always a possibility of a Kolkata derby happening at the end of a tournament. Leave aside the fact that the starting match of every tournament also seems to be a Kolkata derby these days, but that's another matter. Have you seen that meme, Pula, which has the hot-blooded Indian youth saying, "America कहता था तू कौन है बे? अब हम पूछते हैं," or something to that effect.
Yes,
I feel
absolutely.
like that youth represents the fire that East Bengal seem to have now, because after years and years, they seem to be on an equal footing with Mohun Bagan Supergiant. Do you resonate with that idea?
Absolutely. I think what it has done is it's added a lot of balance to the power structure of football in Kolkata. Um, there's been a lot of things written and spoken about when it comes to East Bengal management over the last 10 years, but credit where it's due that they've probably got some things right. They can still get things, things can be better, but they've stabilized the ship a little more. And it's added a lot more to Kolkata football when both the clubs go into a game closer than ever before over the last decade or so. Um, whether it's the coach, playing style, signings, all of these things have put together. And I think Mohun Bagan are also kind of enjoying this challenge. It's not like
Mm.
it's not like they're sitting and thinking, oh, why is East Bengal? Why are they doing so well? I think somewhere they're like, yes, this is fun now.
Mm.
It's the
Mm.
derby is not taken for granted. It was
Mm.
getting to that point. Thankfully, it's not there right now.
Yeah. Brad, opening thoughts from you. We've seen, first of all, we've seen Panos Dilmperis at the helm of Mohun Bagan Supergiant now. Very different manager to Sergio Lobera, different style. What do you think his non-negotiables are on the pitch, and how is he different to Sergio Lobera?
Well, I think a huge difference in terms of you've got one who's very idealistic in terms of how he wanted his sides to play, was always about how they looked aesthetically rather than actually practicality and looking at the opponents. It was always we'll try and outscore the opponents. And obviously in a short season last year it's not going to work. And I think people have figured out that way, and wasn't really successful either in Odisha or previous stints in China. So I think people have figured out and could be that, which is where I think Panos brings a more pragmatic way of playing. So, yeah, they were attractive to watch. I think his Punjab side over a couple of seasons were decent to watch. I like the fact that, I always like, and I'm biased towards coaches who bring Indian youngsters through.
Hmm.
So that's always a huge tick. So I think that's a massive difference between him and the previous coaches, both whether it's Libero or Molina as well, in terms of bringing young players through. The big question about non-negotiables is something which was okay in the past, which is, it doesn't matter if you concede, we'll try and outscore the opponent. Now I think defensive organization, defensive solidity, make sure you track back when you lose possession. I think those are big non-negotiables. You look at the way Panos' teams train. There's a lot of emphasis on ball recovery, fitness levels, and that can often lead to falling out. I mean, let's see. the soft tissue injuries will start to pick up as the season progresses, and that's when in a shorter season you can get away with it. In the longer season now, and a club with huge egos with some of the players, how well they're going to respond to that remains to be seen. So a lot of times at Bagan over the last couple of years, it's about managing the egos and the personalities. Does Panos have those soft skills? I mean, he's soft with us, and he comes across very, like a lovely gentleman when he's talking to us. But I mean, obviously on the training ground, coaches, we wear a different mask when we're on the field. And that sometimes, let's see how players who are used to having things a little bit easier. And as Paula said, now you've got competition directly there. You can't afford to slip up, both as a coach or as a player now, because you've got your neighbors now being a little bit more noisy than they were in the last couple of years.
Brad, Panos also seems to be a coach who will take no nonsense on the pitch. But whenever there's a new manager at the helm of Mohun Bagan Supergiant, there's an entire ecosystem of birds chirping in his ear as well. Sometimes the manager doesn't have the final call, doesn't have the final say. Do you think that's something to consider for Panos as well? Do you think that, of course, when the honeymoon period's over, and for example, if the results don't go their way, and when there's an entire coterie of people around him in his ear, how do you think that's going to play out?
Well, it's both ways, right? I mean, does a manager want to put up with it? We saw with Molina last time round after the Super Cup, which you guys did last year. Complete change. You didn't get what he wants, and then it's either my way or the highway. You know, they're quite happy to show you the highway, and they don't have a problem with that at that club. And so there is, as we've seen with the management, the way both other sports as well, it is pretty much win at all costs. Win is all, it's win or nothing. There's no, we're developing, there's a philosophy, this is a project, all that usual, the stuff we get from it. It's like you win or nothing. And the pressure's on from now. I mean, you don't win today against East Bengal, it changes everything. I mean, automatically the pressure's on, the noise is there from the fans, the noise is there from the management. And my guess would be they'll probably dip into the market again. And that's how they respond. So it's not a bad place to be in, because if you can, when things are not going well, you can go and dip into the market as a coach. It's not necessarily the worst thing, but yeah, I think Oscar did a very good job last year of just completely shutting out the noise. And I think that's something, if you're going to coach in Kolkata, especially at one of the giants, you have to be able to shut out that noise.
Yeah, and someone else who's coached at Kolkata Giants, specifically Mohun Bagan Supergiant, is Antonio Lopez Habas, who you can't seem to keep away from Indian football. He keeps coming back again and again. It's like an addiction. Pula, Habas at East Bengal fascinates me because the profile of players that Habas has at an East Bengal, in terms of being able to manage the dressing room, is a little more similar, I would say, to say an Intakashi, because the egos aren't exactly as inflated as there are in Mohun Bagan Supergiant. You've got very young players, not very young. Of course, the definition of very young in Indian football varies, but players like Jason TK, players like PV Vishnu, you've got Edmund as well. All of them have something to prove and malleable. Would you call them malleable? And especially under someone like an Antonio Lopez Habas?
Fluid, in fact. When the appointment was initially made, and especially after watching Oscar Bruza on East Bengal, a lot of people went, what kind of football are they going to play? Is this a step, is this a step backwards or is this going forwards? Because after Oscar, you'd probably, in fact, I thought Panos was more favored to go to East Bengal, given his, that he has a philosophy and stuff like that. But when Habas happened, initially I was like, oh, there goes the attacking East Bengal. But been pleasantly surprised. Pleasantly surprised because I think right at the end of his last Mohun Bagan season as well for Habas, I think there was a slight change in the way we think how he's going to play football, right? And you can see that change happen at East Bengal. Maybe Habas has also become more flexible in the way he thinks. I've been impressed that he has said go out and attack. There's a lot of maybe some similarities from last season because a lot of the players want to express themselves. It is fascinating in a way where you don't see this happen in world football, where you will never see Pep Guardiola go and manage Real Madrid or Jose Mourinho go to Barcelona, as a head coach or something like that. If you're comparing East Bengal and Mohun Bagan to top city rivalries in the world. But Habas also has a squad, and he's probably understood I've got to cater to this squad. The squad is an attacking squad. It's not a defensive squad. It's not a team which can sit on 1-0. Maybe they can eventually. They'll have to learn to. But I think it's not just the players who are malleable, as you said. It's also Habas who's come in. You have to remember that it's not just the players you have to manage at a Kolkata club. You have to manage the boardroom. You have to manage the management. And Habas is not going to take any nonsense. When he probably joined the club, he said, "Don't tell me what to do. This is how I'm going to play. This is my plan." I think you needed that at East Bengal, a winning mentality. How do you defend a league title? By getting someone in who has winning mentality. Maybe the football is not going to be up to the mark some days. Maybe some players are going to make a mistake. Maybe they're too over reliant on Anwar Ali doing well. But what Habas is going to do extremely well is also take care of the management. The management respects Habas. That mentality to handle Kolkata football, as Prad mentioned, you have to block the noise out. Habas can do that extremely well. And I'm actually enjoying watching them play. He's added a little bit more solidity to Oscar Bruzon's gung-ho attitude, which is probably what the club needed.
Yeah. Now, Prad, Mohun Bagan, East Bengal, both in a group with CISF, Protectors, and you had South United, right? Well and good to score 6, 7, 8 goals against these sides. And while watching the highlights, I enjoyed watching the fluid interchange of play between the attackers of both sides, Mohun Bagan and East Bengal, playing some good football. Now, how would you assess their performances against those two sides, or can you? Is it fair to say that they're going to be poised to have a good season simply on the basis of their performances and results against these two sides?
I'm glad you enjoyed it. It wasn't as enjoyable for those doing the comms and those kind of games.
I said on the highlights, Prad.
Yeah,
It's a 10-minute, it's a 10-minute bulletin.
the entire game was highlights in a way, a package. I mean, normally like the lead comms talks in the final thirds, and as the expert, you're trying to come in on the replays, and the middle third is the middle part of the field is yours. The ball was never in the middle part of the field. It was pretty much an attack versus defense session in 1/3 of the field. The stats, the stats that show up at halftime and all the numbers were just stuff you don't see in a normal football game. If it was, a boxing or a UFC contest, you referee stop the contest kind of thing after halftime. And it's sad. It's not good for the tournament to have, tennis score lines in football, and that you can't really read too much into it. It's good for preseason. Typically, as a preseason, you'd say, all right, let's start with a team that we're going to beat 6-0, and then a team that's probably going to give us a game. And then right towards the end before starting the league, you play an opponent that you're going to face in the league. So yeah, you can't really read too much. And it's good confidence building for players. The things you did notice, though, were, we always talk about Indian strikers and why they don't get opportunities. And then they were given opportunities, so it's an opportunity to get them. And obviously the likes of Jason, David Amar, lots of, these kids managed to score goals. But if you look at how many chances they got to how many chances they scored to their conversion, you can see why they're going to lose their places once the foreign strikers come in, because their chance to goal conversion was poor. And this is a game where typically you say, he needs 10 chances to score 2 or 3. You're getting 10 chances in one game. And that was a sort of bizarre thing. So that's the way you could possibly use it to gauge some of the players. But as a team, it was not even a contest. Defensively, there's nothing really testing them apart from complacency. It's just a training ground match. So,
yeah, and when both sides did play slightly more challenging opposition in the quarters and semis, could hardly score.
Yeah, but I think that's the nature of the tournament as well. It's a preseason-ish tournament, so you're not going to get high-scoring games when you've got a bit more evenly matched teams. And the fact that it's a 90-minute go straight to penalties game effectively makes it, like we've seen, obviously in the World Cup and other games, where when a game goes to extra time, the extra time is kind of pointless. You hardly see goals in the 30 minutes of extra time. So what happens when it's a 90-minute game that's going to go into penalties? The second 45 almost becomes like injury time, especially the last 30 minutes. You see the first 45, both teams are going for it, trying to score. After the break, 15 minutes, there's a little bit of whatever changes the coaches have made at halftime. You can see them trying to implement it. And when it still remains 0-0, they just think, all right, let's not take any risks. Let's sit back and let's go to penalties. And especially the sort of more underdog of the teams, like Jamshedpur in that case and others, and they just say, all right, let's protect what we have and try and beat them on penalties. So it kind of makes the contest a little bit, less entertaining in the last bits. So that's again something that just, twisted it. So you're not going to get high scoring games because no one wants to take a risk because they're more worried about losing. They say, or if you lose on penalties, we went out on penalties. You can say we didn't lose the game.
Yeah.
Right. So,
but I'm not sure they took it seriously, Brad. They didn't take this results seriously by scoring 8-0, 6-0. I think one of the positives was they were like, okay, it's 8-0, it's a routine win. Let's not take it. Like I don't think the fans also read too much into those scores.
No, exactly. So it was pointless.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It was pointless. So you play that, it's almost like a hindrance. The only thing is you can rotate players. Like you've got East Bengal had an AFC Cup game. So you think, AFC competition game, sorry. So you think, right, let's rest players, let's get some confidence into them, 60 minutes for Ramirez and players coming through. So it's good for that. But trying to sort of look at anything tactical in those games is
you can't.
There's nothing.
Yeah, not sure. But at the same time, they did. You mentioned, Suyash, that when it came to when they were both closer to each other, the competition, they were not outscoring the other team by 3-4 goals. But that's a good thing, isn't it? It's a good thing because tell you what, when Mohun Bagan Supergiant and East Bengal play in the ISL, there are going to be some games where teams are going to sit back and say, okay, break us down. So in those moments, these teams are going to be thinking back to, what did we do against, in that game against CISF? This is what we did. What did we do in the game against, in fact, for East Bengal, it worked very well against Al Arbi, where they had to come back. And they came back in the 90th minute. But I think there was a lot of confidence carryover effect from those big results, which probably will get them. And how do you break down opposition? These are the two teams, most attacking teams. How do you break them down? So the lessons of, okay, low block, this is what you do. This is how you rotate the ball side to side, draw the opponent in, all the lessons that Brad gives us on commentary, and apply them in the big games. You're not always going to lose, but you might win it. So it's a sword with, it's a double-edged sword where there are some great takeaways, but it's great that both the teams were not like, I didn't see posters go up, players posting, oh my God, 8-0. Nobody did that.
Yeah.
It's routine. You understand, this is an easy game. Let's win it, move on. There's a certain professionalism about looking at the result as well. I don't think Sahal is sitting and saying, wow, I scored like 5 goals. Maybe 3 of those don't really count.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now, so since Brad mentioned that the chance to goal conversion rate wasn't exactly high when it came to the Indian players, and since I haven't watched the matches, which is why I've gotten you both over here on to speak with me. What was it with Sahal? Because he scored 5 goals. Did he receive a lot more chances than the goals he scored?
He did receive a lot of chances, but I think Sahal is fun to watch.
He's been really fun.
He's a lot of fun to watch, which is something that was taken away a little bit under possibly someone like a Molina, who's more pragmatic in the way he operates. Under Lobera as well, he didn't have a run in the team. Then he came on in the last few games, scored a late equalizer, I think, from distance. And then he had to earn his place in the team. Under Panos, what has happened is probably Panos has gone and said, you play your game. And sometimes you've got to tell players just that. Look what Panos did with, let's say, someone like a Nikhil Prabhu. He gave a lot of confidence to someone like a Mohammad Suhail. A bunch of young players. Pramveer came, made his ISL bow under his management. I think what Panos has done is he's gone and said, you know what? I love watching you play. Do your tricks, do your step overs, get those late runs into the box, do what you've always wanted to do. Sahal feels it's almost like a reborn, isn't he? With the way he's playing.
Yeah.
He's also 28 or something, so it's about time.
Correct.
So thank you. But at the same time, he's put on some muscle, I believe. He's working hard. All of this started last year. It's not just Panos.
And he's looking quicker. He's looking quicker as well.
He's looking quicker. I hope he has fun. That doesn't mean don't take the game seriously. But I think with the way he's celebrating his goal, he's like, yes, the hard work is paying off. You can see it on his face. You can see it in his expressions. And I think the team around him, when you've got Thapa and Apuya sitting behind you, I think you can do whatever you want.
Yeah. Brad, he's reminding me of when he just broke into that Kerala Blasters team in the second bubble season, when Sahal was playing right behind Luna, and he was operating that in that little space right behind the striker. He seems to be playing a more advanced position under Panos as well. How do you think he's fitting into this Mohun Bagan side?
Yeah, I think hit the nail on the head. That's the position he likes to play, and I think he likes, like most players who've got skill and flair, want a bit of a free role, so you can drift into little pockets of half spaces and exploit that. And he's a player that likes to take on players. When he can arrive late into the box and get the ball, he's tricky. You don't want to put a challenge in on him, and he's got really quick feet. And I think there's a couple of players who are enjoying that kind of freedom from their coaches to play in those spaces. Edmund's one of them. In the last couple of seasons, you've seen players who are good on the ball, can take players on, can score. You need to give them a little bit more leeway. And typically in the past, that leeway was always given to a foreign number 10, whether it was, let's say, a Marcelino in those days, or others. They're like, you don't have to really defend as long as you get your goals. And you couldn't give that leeway to Sahal when he was at Kerala Blasters because the goals weren't there, right? The numbers weren't there. Now, as well as I said, when you can back up the numbers, and okay, granted, it's been low quality opposition where the hat tricks have come in, but if he can do it now, he's shown I can do it at the big stage if you give me that role in that place. And when you've got other players that can adjust around that and do the defensive work, it is a great asset to have in your team. And I think the confidence is going to grow the more he gets it. And I think once the season starts, if he can build on that, he's going to be really, really, really exciting to watch. And I think, 28, that's the age where footballers are supposed to be at their peak. So maybe this is peak Sahal years, yeah.
Brad, I have a question for you. Can Sahal and Miguel play in the same 11? And if yes, how would you play them? Where would you play them?
Good question, Pula.
Good question. And Sahal's going to have to do a lot more defending because Miguel ain't going to do that. So, as simple as that. That's there's a player who doesn't do a lot of running. And, I think that it again depends on who's playing up front. If the striker that comes in, that's going to dictate how exactly they play and how you play off of him. But yeah, that's a tricky one. But it's a great combination to have. Like, Miguel plays for 60 minutes, doesn't, creates a little bit of magic that he has on the ball.
Yeah.
And then when you're starting to get worried that he's letting too much spaces, take him off, bring Sahal on. It's not what defenders want to be seeing. But I think that's a great way that they can rotate those two. So I think, that'll be fun to watch. I don't think he's displacing him quite yet. But it's a good player to sort of aspire to sort of get out of the team. Imagine how hard you're going to be working in training. So I think it bodes well for his career and hopefully for the national team as well.
Yeah. Sorry, Suyash. It kind of, when Panos' thing at Mohun Bagan is there's a lot of respect for him from the players. It seems like when Panos came in, every other team, he was in demand. He was the most in-demand head coach in the off-season. It's because teams have, even though Punjab may not have won every game, it's because teams have gone and said, that is a team to watch. Punjab were really good to watch in certain. There was a way they were going forward. When Panos went into the dressing room, players must have been like, yeah, we're going to play under this guy. You need that. You need that. When Lobera went, everyone was like, okay, this is natural progression. Lobera was eventually going to end up with the Mariners at some point. But is he going to play that slow, build up? And then what's he going to, there's no Jahu. Who's going to put that long ball over the top?
Yeah.
But when Panos was, I think the players went, yeah, this is going to be fun. And I think that means a lot. Yeah. So I think that's what happened. And it shows in the way they're playing. There's a lot of respect for him in the dressing room. And I don't think he'll stand for any gimmicks. So players like someone like a Miguel, great to watch. But up here, he's got to change it. He's not at East Bengal anymore, so no more theatrics.
Yeah.
It's got to be serious. Yeah.
See, it's all good till they're winning. Now, when we speak about the squads of these two teams, and particularly the Indian players, Pula, because if you look at the foreigners, they're still kind of coming in, settling into their stride. Which squad has the better Indian players according to you? See, bear in mind, I'm not making a case for PV Vishnu by any stretch of the imagination to come into the Indian squad, but look at how he's playing, right? He's scoring kind of scissor kicks right now. He's lobbing the keeper. He's always played that way. And again, this might be a biased take because I've only seen the highlights, as I said,
Mm.
and I don't know how many chances he's missed. But you see, he's been fun to watch as well. You've seen Lesson TK coming up, and like I said, they seem to be a little more malleable than the Indian players at Mohun Bagan Supergiant, who've kind of been there and done that. You've got Manveer, Sahal, Liston, Thapa, Puya, all of these players, as compared to a slightly younger profile of Indian players at East Bengal.
You've got to see it player for player.
Mm.
If they cancel each other out. If you've got Anwar Ali on one side, you've got someone like Rahul Peke on the other. If you've got Jeeks in here, you've got an Apuya there. So it's a tough one. I still do think. I think East Bengal has the more exciting players in terms of what can they do now.
And what their
Mohun
ceiling
Bagan
is.
has more experienced India players. They've got a Puya Thapa kind of and Bheke kind of swing the scales of tip the scales in terms of experience towards Mohun Bagan Supergiant. But when it comes to let's throw PV Vishnu into the team, that's what East Bengal have. They've got a little bit of you don't know what to expect, and I kind of like that. You don't know what to expect from if you throw PV Vishnu onto the pitch. But you could play Jeekson and Apuya together. That would be great, isn't it? That would be great. David Amar needs to take his chances. I don't think he can make a claim just as yet. But Edmund could come in. On the other side, you've got Sahal.
Yeah. All right, Pradhyum, winding up now. Lastly, we've had our takes on the Indian players. We've had our takes on the foreigners. Playing styles, right? Risk aversion becomes one of the main priorities whenever these two sides play each other. And we've seen that in the past. 1-0 was the first game of the Durand Cup, Mohun Bagan winning that one. Do you think it's going to be a low-scoring game in the final? And tactically, how do you think the two sides are going to be setting up?
See, I think in the first game it was low-scoring because the way Habas initially approached it, and then once he brought the changes on, because don't forget, both teams started with all Indian squads. Now that the foreigners have come in and got some minutes and trained, I don't think it will be. I think both teams, the first 20 minutes, they're probably going to go for it and see who can get that early goal.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's a little bit like old-fashioned, old school, back in the day derbies where there's a little bit of bite to it, and there's a couple of cards flying around, a couple of naughty tackles flying around. Some typically sort of Deepak Tangri kind of challenges, but in the early part of the game, and then that adds a little bit of spice to the contest and makes it a bit more open. I think both teams will score. I just think they've hitting their sort of form at the moment as in you peak towards the finals. I think both teams will score. I think one of them possibly will nick it controversially. If not, we'll go to penalties. So I think there's going to be pressure on the ref, and it's going to be one of those. I'm hoping for anyway. That's the kind of contest you want to see in a final. So.
Pula, you want to stick your neck out and give me a prediction, or maybe even
no, that's Brad's job. But I don't think it'll be risk aversion though. If you've seen the last couple of derbies, they've gone all out. They've gone even in the first one, not all out in like it's crazy end to end, but it was very enjoyable. The first game, the first Kolkata derby in the Durand Cup, was a very enjoyable derby. So yes, of course, there's pragmatism when there are certain principles that don't go forward. All like how many players go forward, duties, X, Y, Z. But I think we are at a point in the Kolkata derby where both teams will go for it. I don't think there's going to be risk aversion. It's not a league. It's not the game week 3.
Yeah,
it is a final. There's no point going for risk aversion and then going to penalties and then one will miss and one will save. I don't think they want that. Win it in 90 minutes. Go for it. Because when else are you going to do it? There's nothing to lose.
Yeah,
there's everything to win. There's nothing to lose here. So I don't believe it'll be. Even tight games can be entertaining. And the last couple of derbies, one in the ISL last season and one at the top of the season in the Durand Cup this time, I saw that both teams went for it. And should be 2-1, 1-0, something like that. But hopefully not a 3-4-0. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, and I don't think we'd enjoy that as spectators either. I don't think we'd enjoy a one-sided final unless it becomes a spectacle and one of the sides demolishes the other, a 7-0 or an 8-0. Then we have a lot to talk about. Then it's a match for the ages. But gentlemen, thank you so much. Brad, any parting thoughts before you depart? What's your day looking like in Goa, I believe? Are you in Goa?
Yep. Yeah, pretty quiet one today. I think no prep to do. I think Pula's on the game, so
you're not meeting Pula before that?
No. Let him
It's
concentrate
not
on
a good
prepping for
idea to meet Brad before a game.
the
That's for the
meet
afters.
up,
That's for
meet
the
after the
afters.
game. Yeah, meet after the game. Yeah, no, I probably might actually catch up on watch a little bit of the Premier League games.
Premier League? Yeah.
Premier League games for a change. So yeah, early on. So
Absolutely.
enjoy that before the season starts for us and gets hectic and all that.
As it will. Gentlemen, see you during the season, and all the best. All the best, Pula, for the final as well. I'll
Thank
be
you.
hearing your voice booming in through my TV speakers. I'm going to be amping up that bass so I can be prepared for your goal shouts. Huh?
Yeah, it's not a music set, huh? It's just commentary. So don't amp up the bass.
Yeah, you have to specify that these days. Yes, you do have to
Yes.
specify that these days.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good day. See you.
Thank you.